everybody. I'm at my sister's again, so it is cooking day. Yay! So this time we are going to be making her fabulous vegetable curry. So this is what you will need. I assume you're going to need a nice big pot because it makes a lot and you're gonna want a lot. And then this is seasoning. It's powdered dehydrated unripe mango. And you can get this from like the Indian grocery if you have one near you, or they usually have it on like Amazon and stuff sometimes. So I will attempt to find a link and then post that in the down bar. And then this is the main seasoning that you'll be using. It's spice blend for vegetables. My camera's having a hard time focusing today. Excuse the nail polish. And you'll be using that mostly. And then we have cumin seeds, meat curry spice, like the spice they use for making meat curry. They use different ones. And then this is the one for chicken curry, so you're gonna need some of that. And then some ginger powder and some star anise powder and some ground paprika. And I don't remember if I said olive oil, but you're gonna need some olive oil. Then you're gonna need one decent sized eggplant. It looks like maybe 1.5 cups in there. I don't know, just one eggplant. The measurements aren't too specific. And then one potato diced. Then one carrot. Chop off the gross ends and stuff. Do you need to peel it? You don't need to peel it? Don't need to peel it. Just wash it really well. And it's all going to meld into there. So one carrot that's been diced. One large, one of the round tomatoes. Not the Roma tomatoes, but I mean, I guess you could use, but these work really good. So just one large tomato that's been diced. You can leave the seeds in. And then we have one of the little, just a little stalk of celery, not the whole thing, but just one of the little sprigs. And so you're gonna chop that up till it's nice and thin like that. It can be a little thick, so just chop it. And then we need one decent sized zucchini, the green ones. I mean, you could use the gray ones if you want, but these are the green zucchini. And then half of a cauliflower, and then one large white onion that has been peeled and diced, and then 2 each of red and green bell pepper that have been cut into strips like that. And then you will need about 1/4 bag of baby spinach. So I don't know, this whole bag is 6 ounces, so I can't math today, so like 1/4 of that. And then anything else for now?
Yeah.
Okay, so there's that.
Okay, so now what we have is this big giant pan. Kind of heat it up a little bit. Get it nice and toasty, but not too bad.
So like medium low heat.
About. So you want to kind of heat up a little bit of olive oil in there.
It's on a 3 right now.
Yeah, well, we had it on while we were doing the other stuff.
For preheating, so.
So then maybe turn it up a little bit more, because I think my pan cooled down a little bit.
Yay,
so what you're going to want to do is get your onion in there. Nice big giant onion. Yay, onion. So if that cooks for just a little bit of time, you're going to end up adding the seasonings to it. Kind of cook the seasoning down to get all the nice aromas and flavors. So it'll take a little bit of time to cook, probably about maybe 3-4 minutes depending on how high you have your heat. And then we'll add the seasonings in just a moment after it's finished kind of cooking down. Okay, so we have our onions starting to get a little happy here.
Looking translucent.
So usually at this point what I do is I'll toast up some cumin in here. Gonna put about maybe half a teaspoon. I like cumin. I usually put a little bit more. Also, if you like spicy, you can put the jalapeno in actually the same time you put your onions in too. But since I'm with someone who doesn't like spicy, that's omitted. If you put the cumin seeds in first and then do your onions, usually the cumin seeds will kind of get a little black and, you know, make it look a little bit bitter flavor. So I usually do it this way to stop that. Alright, quickly a little bit. We'll continue to cook. And now what you're going to want to do is get the seasoning in here. So, sabji masala. This will vary depending on your taste, but usually I'll start with about I would say, well, this isn't, I don't even know what it is. It's not even a real teaspoon. So, kind of go about...
It's probably about a tablespoon under now.
No, it's more than that. Now, it's about 2 tablespoons.
So yeah, about 2 tablespoons of the sabji vegetable masala.
Alright. Give that a little bit of a stir.
Masala means spices in Indian.
Because we're going to be cooking down the spices, you might want to open up a window because when it starts to cook, the smell becomes really strong and you might cough a little bit.
So it's the same thing that happens when you cook chilies.
Kind of got used to it though. Alrighty. Let's open the amchur. Alrighty, so now we're going to go ahead and put in the amchur powder is pretty pungent. So if you're not sure, you can start off with just, I would say probably about a half a teaspoon or so. More sour you like it, and you can kind of go from there. Stir that around in there. Get it going. And you can see right now, it's starting to get a little smoky, and that's normal. It's not necessarily burning, it's just cooking down the spices. Believe me, this part is really important because it'll impart a really good flavor. But you want to kind of kick down your heat to about, well, it's back on 3 now. So medium, low-ish, so that it doesn't burn. And cook it down for just another couple of moments. And once we do that, we will join back with you. Okay, so it's been about 3-ish, 4 minutes. So the main spices we have already kind of cooked down a little bit. This is where I usually will add the meat curry masala. So do about, roughly about a teaspoon or so of that. Chicken curry masala. A lot of these will have the same ingredients, but there's just something slightly different in each of them. And I just happened to be experimenting one day and like the way it tastes a lot. Put those two in, a little bit of the star anise powder, which I did not open yet. So I shall do that really quick.
Kind of looks like a happy face.
I don't know what it is.
Nice.
Alright, so we'll do just a little bit. It's not really working very well, but
It's not coming out.
it's coming out. I could see it a little bit. So what? That would be equivalent to maybe like 2 small pinches. Ginger powder, around about the same, but you could experiment with the flavor. So I'll usually do about maybe equal parts of the two. Stir it up a little bit more.
So about maybe a 1/4 teaspoon of each ginger powder and star anise powder.
If you go too heavy hand on the star anise powder, you can't really go backwards, so just be really careful of that one.
If you don't like anise or licoricey flavor, then you can omit or just put a very tiny bit.
Okay, next is a little bit of ground paprika. And I use it for the subtle flavor as well as the color. It just helps kind of keep it a little bit
Delicious.
yes. So I would say that's probably about a little bit more than a teaspoon and a half or so. So as you can see, our spices are kind of starting to stick to the bottom. That's how you know if they're getting a little cooked. Just watch that they're not burning. If the onions and the spices get a little too dry, you can always add a little bit of oil as you go. And I'm seeing I need a little bit, so another little teaspoon there. And so we have it still on the low heat. Just at this point, since you've added so many spices, you don't want to keep it too high until you start adding all the other goodness.
If they burn, they'll get really bitter, and it won't be fabulous.
Alright, so onions are nice and soft and delicious. Since I'm going to be adding now the rest of the some of the vegetables, I'm going to turn it up to about medium. At this part, you can add the bell pepper. I like to add it in before I put any sort of other liquid in there, just because I like the way it tastes when it's a little bit, not charred, but
It's a little more
boiled.
cooked. And then that way you don't over hydrate your mix once the liquids kind of seep out of the vegetables. You don't want it to be soup instead of curry. It'll taste really good. So.
I let this cook another couple of minutes. Your onions are pretty tender, pretty delicious. Alright, so let that cook down for a little bit of time, and we'll be back with the next steps. Alrighty, so while we had the bell peppers cooking, just found out that we had a couple of missing ingredients we didn't list. Heavy whipping cream, get about a half pint of that. Probably won't use it all, but you can if you'd like. Some sort of plain yogurt. I like Pavels. Mountain High is also really good. So it's your choice if you want to get the full fat or the regular fat. I like the full fat too.
Unflavored.
Yes.
Unflavored.
Original. And then a can of tomato sauce. I like the El Pato salsa de jalapeno because it's a little spicy, and I get to have a little bit spicy since I couldn't add any jalapeno into this. So at this point, that's what I'm going to do is add the tomato sauce. Spicy tomato sauce. Fill that up a little bit. See, we're kind of getting a little dark on the bottom. Hurry up and put all the stuff in. So at this point, what you're going to want to do is add about 3.5 cups of water.
Turn off the fan so you can hear better.
Yeah. So look, I was kind of shouting there.
So 3.5 cups of water.
Alrighty. Leave there for a little bit. Water. And then you can kind of turn your heat back up because now I actually added cold water, so it's going to take a little bit of time to heat up. And at this point, what you can do is add all of the remaining vegetables. I usually will start with my potatoes because they need the most love and cooking time. And we'll start with the carrots as well. And then the cauliflower. So let that cook up a little bit of time. Get it to kind of a little bit of a boil. A lot of this water is going to end up going away. It looks really soupy right now, but it's going to cook awesome. So let that all kind of cook down together. I would say it'll vary, but probably about a good 5-7 minutes. And then once we do that, we'll add more of the vegetables and see you back. Alrighty, so we have everything to a boil right now. And so in goes the fabulous zucchini. Yay! Fabulous tomatoes. And if you're not a fan of any of these veggies, you can switch it up and find what works for you. Eggplants. Got a couple different kinds in there. We're in the garden, yay! Celery. And we'll give it a little bit of a stir.
If eggplant is kind of bitter to you, sometimes when you're eating it, after you cut it up, soak it in some cold water with a pinch of salt in it while you're waiting to add the, in between cutting it up and adding it to the actual pot. So you'll have about, I don't know how long it's been through this whole process, maybe like 20 minutes for it to soak, and it'll help bleach out some of the bitterness.
You could also use frozen veggies. Like another ingredient we forgot to mention was frozen peas. If you're going to use the frozen veggies, you probably want to put all your fresh stuff in first and then use the frozen for last. And just make sure you get a lot of that water off. Let it kind of defrost a little bit, because we'll kind of continue to make it soupy. So at this point, what we're going to do is put a little bit of the cream in. Now this process, it could be a lot quicker, but I like to just walk away and do other things, so I just tend to simmer this. So what I'm going to do is put about half pint, so quarter pint, of the, what the heck is this?
Heavy whipping cream.
Just grab and use. Turn down the volume a little bit to your stove.
Turn on the flame back to like how you had it in the beginning, so around 3 for us, so medium low, just so it's barely bubbling and not so much a vigorous boil, so you don't burn the crap and overcook out of your stuff.
Yep.
Give it a nice stir. That'll give it a nice mellow, delicious, extra delicious flavor when it's all done.
Alrighty, so at this point, you could cover it if you want to. Me, what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk away from this for about a good 20 to 25 minutes. I'm gonna put it on pretty super low, but not to the lowest setting. I'll just put it on about 1. Depends on your stove, of course. And then I'm gonna continue to let this cook down a little bit, so hopefully when we come back, the moisture or some of the extra water is cooked out, and we will come back to that.
Another vegetable that goes really good in it that we forgot to get when we were at the store is okra.
Oh, yeah.
So,
and I thought I had some in my freezer, and I didn't.
We thought we had some in the freezer, so we thought we were okay. But how much okra? Like a half a cup or about?
I mean, frozen okra I think tends to work best because it's not as slimy. At least, I don't know. Last time I tried it with the okra, so about a cup. You can do less. Just depends. The more okra you add, of course, and the less moisture you have in your curry, the more slimier it has a tendency to become. So, just watch out for that. Alrighty, welcome back. So, coming back in here, you can see it's a little settled down now. A lot of the water's been kind of cooked out. I just turned it down a little bit more because we were
filming the Daiso haul video and we got distracted.
Yeah, so usually this will be on just a little bit of a boil, little tiny bubbles everywhere. So, kicking back in, what I'm going to do is add probably about a quarter to a half a cup of the yogurt for a little bit of tanginess. If you don't prefer the tanginess taste, you really can omit, but if you do, you're silly.
The yogurt makes it really good. Without the tang, it's just kind of bland.
Yeah, and if you put it in too soon, it tends to get a little grainy. Even when you're mixing it in, you can kind of see it a little grainy, but when you continue to cook it, it'll cease that.
That'll break down a little more.
Yeah. And, you know, to me, I kind of like when my curry is a little less watery than this, so I'm going to continue to cook this down a little bit. If you have the time, you really could cook up the onions and puree them in a little bit of water and actually add it to this because it'll make it a little bit thicker. Me, I didn't do that, so in order for quick thickening agent, shall use cornstarch. Just a little bit, but I'll let it cook down a little bit before I even go the cornstarch route. So as you finish up before you let it simmer some more, you can add a little bit more of the heavy whipping cream. Careful not to add too much because make it too creamy.
Fine line between rich and cream soup.
And sodium chloride. Did neglect to add this earlier. So kind of salt it up a little bit because we didn't add any this whole time. At this point, what you could do is you kind of mix it up, give it a little bit of a taste. See if you want to adjust anything. Me, I have a feeling I'm probably going to put a little bit more of the amchur powder in it because I kind of like it a little bit tangier. So yeah, he's kind of watery still. He's tasty. Okay, so I always keep my spices handy because I end up needing them again. So what I'll do is add a little bit more of the amchur. Stir it up a little bit.
Don't forget to get the outside handle of your pan.
Oh, exactly.
Nice kid.
So I usually like having them in the little containers. I just ran out. And those are actually kind of space saving. Alright, so he is looking fabulous. So usually around this time, because you're probably going to let it go for another 15-20 minutes, or you know, if you have things you're doing, set it on to super low, and you know, this can really go for, you know, an hour or more if you want, but just make sure to keep an eye on it. Don't let it get to a super high boil or anything like that, because you will lose track of your water consistency stuff and it will burn. I've done that.
It'll burn and your vegetables will completely just decompose in there.
Alrighty, so yep, we will join you back, or you'll join us back, hopefully.
If you're not tired of us by now. Once it has done evaporating a tiny bit more. So, oh, delicious. Okay.
Alrighty, welcome back everybody. So, we have our curry boiled down to a fabulous consistency. I actually did have to add a little bit of cornstarch because it was a little soupy, but that's okay. I'm kind of looking for I can't explain it, but you'll know because it's not like water. It's a little thicker and deliciouser, and we'll kind of hang around your plate.
Like a little thicker than tomato soup or less?
Around about that, I guess.
So around tomato soup consistency.
So I personally like to add spinach in here. You don't really have to. It's a little different, but I'm gonna add some spinach in here. You can chop it up if you want it like finer, not so leafy, but
it gets wilted down anyways. So
yes. So throw a bit of spinach in here. Yeah, it's like probably a quarter of the bag, more or less, depending on your liking. And give that a good stir. Turn it down a little bit. And if you prefer not to have your vegetables over squishy, then, you know, you could, of course, cut the cooking time. Me, I like them kind of squishy. It tastes delicious.
Let it kind of all meld together rather than being like a stew. Have more of a smooth consistency.
Exactly. Plus, with the potato, it actually helps kind of thicken it up. So I think I usually put a couple of potatoes in here, but I just added so many other vegetables this time that I'm just kind of cut back on the potato bit. So you're pretty much at a done point now because your spinach doesn't really need to cook down too terribly much. So this is going to be a finished product. We're going to go ahead and make some fabulous rice of fabulousness, and then we will eat.
Yay! Yay. And then if, before you get to the whole cooking part, after you add your salt and you taste it, if you put too much salt, just cut up another potato and stick that in there, and it'll help absorb the extra salt, as well as give better consistency.
Yeah.
So, hooray! Alrighty, so gonna stir this, and then we will come back to you with the rice, because this is pretty much done, right?
Yeah, it's all done.
Yeah, this is all done, so we're gonna stir, and then go to the rice.